Power BI is under a family of Microsoft Power Platform, and there are various low-code development services like Power Pages, Copilot Studio, Power Automate, and Power BI. So this comes under that umbrella. And Power BI is a BI tool which is used for visualizing data. And once you load the data into the Power BI, you can create various charts and graphs and dashboards. Now, there are several components of Power BI. Primarily, we'll talk about three of them here. One is Power BI Desktop, which is used for building reports. And the second is Power BI Service, where once you create reports in Power BI Desktop, you can publish them onto this cloud-based platform and share it among your target audience. And there is something called as Power BI Mobile, which provides a seamless and interactive experience. What are the common use cases for Power BI? First is that we can connect to data and transform and clean data to create a data model. And once you create the data model, you can create visuals and such as graphs or charts. And once you do that, you can publish them onto your either Power BI service or your Power BI report server. And once you do that, you can share them among your target audience. And let us see visually how it looks. As we have said, you can connect to many kind of data sources like text, CSV files, or you can bring data from your web or from databases like SQL Server, MySQL, all those other types of data sets. And Power BI connects to several dozens of data sources. So once you bring in the data, in any form, you can have a collection of data too. You can bring data from different sources, merge or append in Power Query, and load it into Power BI Desktop. You can do all those things. And once you load that, it comes into Power BI. And as we have discussed already, Power BI as an integrated tool called as Power Query. And folks who are coming from Excel, they are already aware of Power Query. And this integrated tool will be helpful in doing data preps and also your transformations and other related stuff. Now, the Power Query engine uses a scripting language called as M language. And this M language is a data transformation language of Power Query. And most of the people work on M query too. So it depends, like, Power BI jobs are different. You have either you're a Power BI developer. It could, the job role and responsibilities could include right from data loading, making the transformations, in fact, sourcing the data, loading the data, extracting whatever columns you want into the data model, and creating all those visuals based on the needs, company needs or your research questions. Once you do that, all those things can be done. That is one area. And people also work in specializing in M query language. Those are a different type of developers. If you're a report developer, you work only on the report side. You kind of already the data is already there in the data model, so you don't have to worry about that. And that data, from that data model, you kind of work your way through trying to slice and dice the data and bring up all those visuals and create report pages and dashboards. Those are the different types of Power BI jobs, variety of jobs. So once, as we have discussed, once the data comes into Power BI Desktop, you create your visuals. Either you can kind of publish them onto PBI Service, which is a cloud-based platform. You load into, publish into those Power BI Service, or if you have a local on-premises report server, you can publish them onto them too. So it's up to your company. They will decide what are the options to be taken. Either it goes to PBA Service or PBI report server. It could be a combination of both too. So once you create all the visuals and reports on those dashboards, could be published onto either of those services or both. Once you do that, those report pages could be consumed by the target audience. So in a nutshell, that is how the visual depicts how the data is coming into Power BI, and how we use the Power Query graphical tool and do the transformations and create visuals and publish them. Now that we have understood Power BI in a nutshell, let us move to the next step. And let us try to understand what is DAX and what are DAX functions, what are measures, and beyond. And this could be a little bit overwhelming for a beginner, but stay with me. You should be able to understand most of the definitions of what is DAX and the functions. As shown here, DAX is a formula and a query language used in Power BI. Also, it is used in Excel in Power Pivot. And it is typically used to perform calculations on the data. For example, if you have a sales data, you want to find out what is the total sales, what is year-by-year sales, etc. So DAX will be helpful in creating those measures and trying to drill down and visualize your reports. In fact, it will help you to create reports too. DAX, as shown here, enables you to perform complex calculations and aggregations also. And initially, when you're starting to learn Power BI, DAX is has a steep learning curve. But if you start creating some basic formulas and use it and to create your report pages, it should be easy. And that way, once you understand the basics of DAX, and you create report pages, that will give you enough confidence to kind of tackle more complex problems. And as shown here, expression is a unit of DAX logic that is evaluated and returns a result. Now, you might have heard about measures, and a measure in Power BI is a calculation that is used to analyze data and perform calculations on a model's data. For example, if you have sales data or some other data, and you want to kind of understand and try to gather insights from your data, so that you will be using DAX, the formula language, and create measures so that it will be easy for you to kind of visualize the data and create report pages. And measures are implicit or explicit. DAX measures, you can use DAX language to create measures, and Power BI desktop will identify based on the field whether it is implicit, then it will create certain implicit measures for you. If you create any measures, those are explicit. So they are dynamic measures, right? And also there are many functions in DAX. There are more than 300, and the list is growing. And functions are predefined formulas. They have written those formulas for us so that we can use right out of the box. And use those things in our calculations by using specific values, follow the syntax. And most important thing in understanding DAX and how to use DAX is context, right? Context describes the environment in which a DAX formula is evaluated. Fundamentally, there are two contexts, which are filter context and row context. And row context represents the current row. In case if you have a table and you are iterating through row by row, it is called as a row context. And there is also a filter context in case if you have a report page and there are visuals in the report. Based on those things, the filter context works. And there is something called as context transition, which transforms the row context into an equivalent filter context. Again, these are all overwhelming, but initially it will be a little bit difficult for you to understand. But as you practice more, these things will be pretty helpful. You don't have to know about all the 300 functions. There are very commonly used DAX functions, probably about 25-30 in my opinion. And based on the needs, you will try to understand about other functions too. But you don't have to know about everything. Exhaustive documentation is there, Power BI, so that you can look up any kind of function you want to use. And here are some of the main functions, which is calculate. It evaluates an expression in a modified filter context, and it returns the value, and the value returned is the result of the expression. And the syntax is calculate expression followed by the filter and other stuff. And the other function is sum. Again, a very simple sum. Any kind of values you have in a specified column, it returns those values after summation. And in case if you have a table, this is sumx is an iterative function. Anything with an x in the end is the iterative function. That means it goes row by row. It calculates the sum of an expression evaluated for each row in a table. And there is something called as filter. Again, this is also an iterative function that generally filters tables for data models. And filters return a table. So again, this is a Boolean expression, and filter follow a table followed by the expression. So it will return a table, only the filtered rows are returned. And there are also some other functions called as time intelligence functions. It will be useful in case if you have a time series data set, so that in case you can use date difference, date add, dates in period, etc. And there is min and max and switch function too. Again, these are, in my opinion, about 25-30 functions are constantly used, so that you don't have to know about all the 300 functions which are available. And every time you use any kind of function, the IntelliSense will give you the definition of the function and what are the required parameters. And if there are any available fields or measures you can use in those functions, it will also tell you. So it's kind of intuitive. It is pretty easy. You don't have to memorize. Basic functionality of these functions is required, but you don't have to memorize the syntax. As you use them, those syntax is also visible. And this is how you can download your Power BI desktop. Go to the website and try to load that. You can use it to load it from install from the Microsoft App Store, or you can download from the website itself as a standalone. And there are very good documentation. You have all those things listed, how to install Power BI. In the previous video, I have shown you in detail how to download the data. How to download Power BI desktop. And you have those options available for you. You can get data, create reports, etc., and publish them using Power BI desktop. And you can download based on the operating system. And once you download and open, you have your Power BI desktop here. On the top is the ribbon, and on the left there are 4 views: report view, table view, model view, and DAX query view. And there are visual panes, fields panes, etc. And on the right you have your fields pane, and this is the report canvas. And again, time and again, I'm saying that this is could be overwhelming if somebody is starting their journey in learning Power BI. But as you keep working on Power BI, most of the items which are visible here could be second nature. Once you understand the logic and how to create DAX functions, etc., you can use them. And there are certain native functions are available here inbuilt, and you can also download some of them from the app source too. And in this case, I'm just showing an example how to load a sample data which is already installed along with the Power BI desktop. And you open them and load or transform. Once you transform, you are in the Power BI Power Query editor window. And there are several components here similar to the desktop. There is a ribbon up top, there is a queries pane, etc. Once you do all the transformations, load it into Power BI desktop, the data is available for you. Click on table view. Any transformations you make there, those are visible here. And you can go to model view. In case if you have more than one table, you can create relationships also. And in case if you want to try out, you can drag any of those fields here. Like I said, there are implicit measures which are created for you there: the month number, profit, gross sales, etc. And once you drag, Power BI desktop is intuitive. It will create it will suggest certain visuals for you. In this case, we have a bar chart up here. And there is also, you can make all the formatting changes by selecting the visual. And it's pretty easy to use, pretty intuitive. Initially, it will be a little bit tough for you in case if you want to use Power BI and start working on DAX. If you watch any of those examples, they look complex. But believe me, start by creating a basic DAX measures. and understand the logic, understand the differences between different functions. And there is exhaustive documentation, and there are pretty good videos too, which will teach you from the basics. So keep working hard and practice, and maybe in few weeks, 3 or 4 months time, you will go from zero experience in Power BI to an experienced level. So only thing is practice is pretty much required, and you can always create quick measures. And there is also Copilot. If you sign in and to Copilot, you have those options also. Like I said, this is a pretty good tool. And if you're trying to start your journey in BI tools, Power BI is the way to go. And it's pretty easy to understand, create reports, and learn about DAX and start creating measures, etc. So thanks for watching. See you in the next video.